Hey everybody. Well, we have the old long essay to go over, and I figured that we'd start the old long essay off with a little purple shirt Monday action. I know it is not Monday; it is Friday. However, I figured this is the first you know real kind of going over stuff in a video kind of thing, and so I figured what, purple shirt Monday. Now, I would like to point out I am wearing pants. All right. The only reason I say that is because I find it weird that with this whole home thing, people are wearing shirts and not pants. All right, so I just want to prove that. Hey, what's up? Yeah, all right, come on. Come say hi one more time. Guess wants to say hi.
Hi.
Oh, hold on. There you go. Wave. Say
Hi.
hi. Tell them what you are.
Captain Rex.
Captain Rex from the what?
Clone Wars.
All right, go patrol for droids.
Okay.
All right, good deal. See ya. Close the door.
Okay.
All right, as you can see, this is going to be unedited. All right, but anyway, to continue my social commentary, I don't know what's more strange, that people are wearing shirts and not pants while they're working from home, or that like Walmart, who now is reporting they're selling more tops than bottoms. I'm not sure what's more strange, the fact that people are wearing more tops than bottoms, or that they refer to the whole category as tops and bottoms. Why don't they just say like shirts and pants? Maybe you throw a skirt in there. I don't know. Maybe you get crazy and you say skirts, right? Yeah, I just find that whole thing weird. Whoa, hey, that's my new cat. Oh, again, unedited. Hey, say hi, Fluffy. Oh, there he goes. Hey, all right. So here's the deal. The old long essay. All right. Before we get too crazy, I would like to point out this is Mountain Dew. Here's your proof right there. All right. In the 8-push video, I cracked the can open. It's all the same. All right. So, oh god, that's good. So here's the deal. Long essay. All right. You've all done it before. All right. So this shouldn't be too crazy. All right. But here's the thing, and I went real nuts, and I used Augustus markers. I figured I'd use some old tech in order to get that going. All right. And so here it is. Long essay rules. All right. Hopefully we all remember these. I'm sure it's locked in your brain. You can only have them before you, or they can be. Sometimes they can be 5 paragraphs. But oftentimes the way the question is set up, they're going to be 4. And the question I am giving you, which I will also type out for you in the email, and I will be sending you pictures of all these very fine, high-tech, detailed slides. Anyway, so that you have this as a copy for yourself. The question I'm going to give you is pretty much answerable in 4 paragraphs, right? So number 2, because there are no documents, right, in order to analyze and kind of like soak up the bulk of your paper, which is the problem, you have 4 pieces of prior knowledge as a minimum, all right? So you're really looking for 4 pieces of prior knowledge instead of the 2 document references and the 2 prior knowledge per paragraph, 4 pieces of prior knowledge per paragraph, which will give you 12 pieces of prior knowledge for your essay, all right? Unlike the DBQ, because there are no documents to analyze, here, hold on. Come here. All right. There you go. All right. There you go. All right. Because there are no documents to memorize, you want to explain the living crap out of your prior knowledge, right? Usually in a DBQ, I'm like, just say it because I'll know if you're using it properly, and I'll know if you know what it means because of the document you're using it with. Here, you want to explain the living crap out of it. Same rules as the DBQ, of course, mechanics-wise, like no personal pronouns, transition sentences, right in the past tense, yada, yada, yada. You guys know this stuff. You're all set, right? All right, so here's the deal. This is your question. Are you ready? All right. It's like backwards in this. It's like a mirror. It's weird. All right. Anyway, so I'm gonna like weirdly look around so that I can read this all at the same time. All right. So as it says here, evaluate the extent to which Europe's political relationship with the U.S. in the period of 1918 to 1939 differed from Europe's political relationship with the U.S. in the period of 1945 to 1989. So hey, this is pretty straightforward. You're going to have your intro paragraph, then you're going to have these 2 main body paragraphs, 1918 to 1939, and then 1945 to 1989, and then you're going to have a closing, and then you are going to be done. All right. This will be due on the 17th, by the way. And really it's kind of like the assessment we're going to do for these like phase 1 and 2 stuff that we've been doing. And then after what will be our traditional April break, we're going to take it kind of easy. So I'm going to be sending out a few things to figure out. I'm hoping everybody has Netflix because that will make our life a whole lot easier. And yeah, all right, trust me, it's going to be it's going to be all right. Yeah, maybe we'll do a few Google Meets to talk about a few things. But that way I can see you guys at least through a screen, which is really not the same and a little depressing sometimes, but better than nothing, I suppose. So anyway, we'll worry about that after April break. And what I'm thinking we'll probably do, to be honest with you, is if everybody has Netflix, we will just kind of pick a couple shows, all right? Hopefully everybody's kind of cool with a little bit of nudity and swearing because those are the good ones. And then we'll watch like an episode for like a week's assignment, and then we'll get together and we'll talk about the episode on like a Google Meets, and that will be us through May. You know what I'm saying? Just to, yeah, I'm feeling it. I don't know about you guys. I'm feeling it. And I'm pretty sure Fancy probably just said wow on that one. All right. She won't say it for art, but I know she'll say it for TV. All right. With that said, your first main body paragraph. Remember, this is like everything you could possibly say. It is not pick like 4 or 5 of them. Or if you want to get crazy, do them all, in which case I love you. All right? So, here's the deal. You'd want to start out 1918, 1939. You'd want to start talking about like the Treaty of Versailles, how much of Wilson's 14 points are ignored. I'll be sending you pictures of this just so you guys know. You want to talk about how ultimately the Versailles goes with the war guilt clause for the Germans. The Germans are forced to pay war reparations, and the U.S. fails to ratify the Treaty of Versailles. We make a separate peace with Germany, which therefore means we do not join the League of Nations. Now, what that essentially means is that we are now not going to be involved in the day-to-day policies of Europe. All right, we go completely isolationist, right, which is phase 2 here. U.S. enters isolationism through the 1920s, but see, this is an interesting thing to note, which you might want to note in this paragraph. While we're not going to be involved in foreign policy decisions and really Britain and France with their colonies and their ability to kind of control the global trade and all that type of stuff still, we're kind of still the sideman, right? They're really dominating global policy at that point still. And so it's deceiving because while we're not like actively involved in those policy decisions, it's going to be our banks that are pulling Germany out of its issues with war reparations, which is going to be directly linked, as you will see, to the Great Depression here in a few minutes, right? Okay, so here's the deal. We take over Germany's debt with the Dawes Plan because remember, we're bailing out Europe and France with millions of dollars throughout World War I, right? Our banks, the money they owe us, okay? But they can't pay us back, all right, until they get the German war reparations. So what ends up happening is with the Dawes Plan, we take over Germany's debt, all right? We loan Germany the money to pay the war reparations so that Britain and France can then pay us their debt, and that's how that cycle of money then flows. And of course, it's not like we're paying, we are paying ourselves with our own money, but of course there's an interest rate tied to what the Germans are borrowing and then paying us back, right? Remember, the Germans, I don't think it was like 2014, or 2016, they had just finished paying back the loans from World War I. So keep in mind that like we are making some money off of that. But that is what's going to lead to the Depression because with our banks funneling all that money and doing all that type of stuff, that is going to result in a whole situation where when our banks collapse, the German banks are going to collapse, and then yada, 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 it's like a snowball going downhill, right? So here's the deal. All right, under the Dawes Plan, U.S. assumes German debt from World War I. All right, collapse of U.S. banks and from 29 to 32 causes the collapse of the German economy. And because the German economy can't keep paying their war reparations, that leads to the collapse of France and Great Britain's banks and their economies, which then spirals into the global Great Depression, right? And then, of course, that global Great Depression allows for the rise of fascism in Italy and Germany, and, of course, the rise of Hitler and the Nazis, and, of course, thus World War II, and then, of course, U.S. entrance into World War II, which then leads you to your second main body paragraph, 1945 to 1989. I picked this one because I thought it would be pretty easy for everybody to do, because you've had a lot of this stuff from APUSH for the second paragraph, right? You've got the Yalta Conference, post-World War II, right? The three big things that it does. Eastern European elections were supposed to be free and fair in the Soviet-controlled territories. They all, of course, are rigged and go pro-communist, right? Then, of course, Germany is divided. Eastern goes to the Soviets. Western goes to France, Britain, and the United States, which, of course, we consolidate into one pro-democratic Western Germany, and the same is with Berlin, right? Then, of course, you get this concept of containment that the U.S. adopts, and so as a result, we're going to treat communism like a disease that is spreading through, and we have to contain and stop it from going through, right? And so as a result, we have the Truman Doctrine, right? Financial aid for military resistance of the Turkey and Greece against communist revolt, all right? And then, of course, the Marshall Plan, all that money to rebuild Western European nations and their economies to prevent them from having communist revolts. Because, as we all know, right, you only have communist revolts in countries where their economies are terrible, right? Good economies mean no communist revolution. At the end of the day, right, I just want to barbecue and binge watch a TV show, all right? And so that's what I'm going for. I have stuff, a house and a kid and pets and a wife, all right? And, white picket fence. I don't have a white picket fence, but you know what I mean, right? And so I'm not going to lose all those things for communist revolt. I'm not going to Molotov cocktail those. If I have nothing, why not? Molotov cocktail it up, because you got nothing to lose. So rebuild Western Europe and you will prevent communist overtake, right? Now, an important note here, especially when you're looking at how the U.S. is now influencing European foreign policy, is the Suez Crisis. Remember that Great Britain and France tried to punish Nasser in Egypt for trying to nationalize the Suez Crisis. And in response to his nationalizing the Suez Crisis, the Suez Canal. And in response to his nationalizing the Suez Canal, Britain and France bomb Egypt. However, they do not ask American permission first. And as a result, we denounce their actions in the UN. And that, of course, then leads to the big whole issue of lost my train of thought. Dramatic pause. My bad. That leads to the whole fat issue of the United States is now the global power. And France and Great Britain are second tier, reliant upon the United States for a lot of that Cold War stuff, right? Okay, and so one issue, though, of course, that does show that the Soviets are controlling Eastern Europe and that is their territory to play with is the Hungarian Revolt, right? In Hungary in 1956, the communist-supported government there was a revolt against it, all right? The Soviets roll in with tanks and machine guns, and they kill everybody that is trying to overthrow that communist government, and we do nothing, which is essentially us saying, hey, Eastern Europe belongs to the communists, and we are not going to take it from them. All right. Then, of course, you have the Berlin Wall and Kennedy's visit there when he refuses to, Ich nie Berliner, I am a Berliner. We are going to make sure that West Berlin stays under the control and guise of the United States of America. Then we're going to skip to Reagan and restarting the Cold War. Remember that Reagan's re-upping the Cold War and, more importantly, the nuclear arms race forces the Soviets to pay to up their military arms construction as well. Now, the issue of this, of course, is that every time we go, capitalism is better, economically speaking. And every time we up our weapons and military spending by 5%, they've got to do 10, 15%. Well, eventually the communist government's economy cannot support that, and that's going to help break things down. More importantly, however, is American culture and capitalist kind of pop culture. Bruce Springsteen and Blue Jeans brought down the Berlin Wall just as much as any nuclear bomb construction did, right? Everybody starts to realize, what's pretty awesome? Coca-Cola. What's pretty sweet? Rock and roll music. What is awesome? Free news media, right? You know what I mean? That is unhindered and unregulated. Those types of things, right? And so really, honestly, there's an argument to be made that those are almost better, right? In bringing down communism. They're obviously better than nuclear bombs because I love me some Bruce Springsteen. However, all right, they're more effective than the nuclear arms race in bringing down communism. That's what I meant by that, right? And of course, Reagan's relationship with Gorbachev then leads to glasnost and perestroika, and eventually, of course, the easing of communist regimes in Eastern Europe. And then, of course, the Soviet Union will collapse. And thus, of course, America's influence in that had a pretty important role in that regard, right? I think I may have skipped NATO and Warsaw Pact, right, in between Marshall Plan and Suez Crisis. But of course, that is the big thing there with Truman, with the idea of a military alliance to prevent the Soviets from invading Western Europe. And the Warsaw Pact is a military alliance with the Soviets and Eastern Europe to prevent the West from invading there, right? So that would be what you would talk about in your second paragraph. And then your closing paragraph would essentially kind of wrap up some of those ideas, restate your thesis, in that regard, right? And so if anybody has any questions, email me and I'll answer them as rapidly and as best as my ability will allow. I most certainly, this is all you want to just impress upon you, that this is all you have to worry about for next week. If you could get it into me on the 17th, that would be awesome. And then you don't have to worry anything about what would be our traditional April vacation. And then after that, we're going to take life easy. All right. So, hey, with that said, I think that pretty much covers everything I needed to let you know. Hold on. God, that's a tasty beverage. And so I just want to once again just say, hey, air high fives for everybody. All right. I love you guys. I miss you guys. And I hope that we see each other sooner than later because, as far as I'm concerned, we still have a whole lot of memories to make. All right. I mentioned this to Casey Chapman the other day. I don't know if I have ever had more of an appreciation for you guys than I do now, not being able to talk to you guys every day. I miss that a lot, and we are going to do it again. All right. Love you.